Hello everybody, it is Calxiyn and Hunter here. If you guys enjoyed this video, you guys should become patrons over on Patreon if you guys want to support the channel. So, today we are basically talking about who's at fault. Which, I think the answer is everyone, so let me explain. Yeah. So, people are being a little harsh, I think, with Salem, slightly.
Are people, or have you been able to look around yet?
I've looked around, I've seen, like, especially in the Murder of Birds Discord, people, like, as soon as Salem fell into the cesspool, she was, like, irredeemable and, like, all that stuff. So, I want to do kind of a separate video on that, but this video is mostly going to be focused on who did things wrong, who did things right, because I think there's enough blame to go around, right? Yes. So, first of all, with Salem, I don't blame her for trying to bring back Ozpin. I think that she's, like, a grieving woman. I don't you know, she's a grieving wife or whatever. Exactly. I don't blame her for wanting to do that. I don't think that was
Maybe
her
don't
fault.
fuck with Satan, but, you
Maybe.
know.
But I feel like that, here's the thing, right, is that obviously the gods have apparently performed miracles for other people if people think they can just walk up to the temple and ask whatever they want. You know what I mean? And we don't know that for sure. We don't know what the gods have done.
You get the impression that people ask for stuff, but then again, maybe it's not, you know, bring someone back from the dead.
Well,
maybe
there are also probably rumors, right? Like, there are probably the rumors that go around about, like, hey, I heard that the light god did this for someone, right? And that's sort of how that starts. So, obviously, going to the light god and the light god is sort of like, hey, listen, I can't disrupt the natural balance. I think that's a fair response, but I think that he could have been a bit more delicate because she tries to argue with him and he's just like, let him rest, right? He puts his foot down there, but I don't know if that's necessarily the right answer. And so that's my only problem with the gods is I feel like that maybe they don't have the capacity for emotion that necessarily humans do because, like, we're mortal, we are... I don't want to say fragile, but, like, we have feelings, you know what I mean? Like, we fall in love, we get heartbroken. I don't think the god of light or the god of darkness has that. Like, obviously they have giant egos and all of that,
I don't know if he has a giant ego either.
No, I'm saying the dark god. I'm saying that they have those emotions. Like, to obviously be petty and fight with each other, they have to have some feelings, but what I'm saying is, like, they can't fall in love, like, they can't... You know,
Although
they can't feel stuff like that.
I get the impression that the God of Light genuinely cares for humanity.
No, I think he cares, but I'm saying he can't fall in love in, like, a romantic sense. Like, he doesn't understand that. No. You know what I mean? Or at least I would perceive that he doesn't get that part, if that makes sense. Yeah. Just because, like, how is he supposed to understand a situation which he has never been in? Like, he's probably never been in love with anybody before, right? He's a god. Like, he's not fucking around, you know what I'm saying? And so, he doesn't have the emotional capacity to maybe understand that, and then you could say, well, if he doesn't have the capacity for it, how is that his fault? Which I guess is kind of fair, too. But I'm just saying, I don't necessarily know if he, like, putting his foot down and being like, just let him fucking rest, like, was sort of the right answer here. I think that maybe consoling her a little bit, trying to give her, like, a will to live because you're the god of creation and knowledge, you know, trying to be like, listen, like, there's more to life, there's more to your life than this, like, I'm not saying that there's, like, fate or destiny or whatever, but, like, you know, you can, like, still do great things, you can do things to live in his memory, like, you know, something like that, a little bit more of a... You know, because maybe then she would have been like, you know what, you're right. Like, my husband's legacy was, like, he wanted to have justice and save people and all that. Like, maybe he could have done a little more convincing.
But also, it's kind of like, maybe the god was like, listen, I'm a god, you're a grown-ass woman, figure this shit out yourself.
Maybe, but that's such a harsh attitude. You're supposed to, like, you know, you're supposed to, like, you know, comfort her,
I don't
right?
know, man. I can't imagine gods being overly...
I also understand that the thing with the gods is obviously choice is something that they valued. Like, the ideals of humans are choice, knowledge, right? And so him trying to manipulate or sway her in any way probably wouldn't, like, that would go against his beliefs, if that makes sense. Then she goes to the dark god. I think the dark god is, like, most at fault. Personally, I think how it scales is dark god, Salem, and then the god of light on the same tier for, like, completely different reasons, and then Ozpin, like, at the bottom. Like, Ozpin made some mistakes, but, like, he just kind of got dragged into this, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, he did kind of get dragged into it, but he also could have done it a lot better.
The dark god, though, he has, like, a giant ego, right? He's, like...
He did. You see the ego comes out and he's like,
you can't tell me what to do, and then all that stuff,
You went to my brother first.
Like, brother, you can't control me, and then he's like, oh, well, Salem's trying to control you.
I'm a bad bitch. You
like,
can't kill me.
They're just so petty, and, like, it's like they have the lives of millions of people, like, in their hands, and then the dark god just kills everybody. That's why I'm saying he's like the most morally reprehensible on this list. He just wipes out humanity. He just Thanoses everyone.
I like the God of Light because I think he does give Salem immortality to maybe have her better understand the cycle of life. Because I feel like you can observe the cycle of life better if you are immortal up until you realize your mistakes and then you can die.
And I understand, right, like, the lesson.
I also like
don't necessarily know if it was executed very well.
Maybe you could have sat her down or...
Like, maybe, like, there was another way to do it to make her learn a lesson. It didn't necessarily have to go like that, because all you're doing is making her suffer. Really. And I get that you have to suffer a little bit if you make mistakes, but at the same time, I don't think that's any way to learn.
Sometimes you learn from mistakes and you learn from suffering.
Yeah, but I think that this is... Like, do you know how long eternity is, Hunter? Well, eternity is long.
It's eternity until she learns her lesson.
But...
Which didn't have to be
What
forever.
I'm gonna say is then the gods leave. And so even if she learned her lesson after that, they keep her condemned forever.
But that's only... after she then tries to kill them. So initially, I think they were
I know that. And so initially, but then they leave.
Yeah, but...
And so then they just leave her there like that.
But Salem also did try to kill them using, like I
don't think she tried to kill them, exactly.
No, she tried to
I think she tried to lead her revolts.
They were trying to... Like, listen, like, we tried to be lenient with you.
Okay, I guess they did shoot at them. But, like, here's the thing, right, with that. Personally... They're gods. They wouldn't have died. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's no harm, no foul. You know what I'm saying?
But then again, they were punitive, so maybe they did actually feel threatened. Maybe they're... Because think about it. Maybe...
I think that this is an ego thing. Like, how dare you humans who we've given, like, our gifts to defy us like that and then Thanos snapped.
We should do a video for Salem's plans with relics.
Maybe, yeah.
But I think that if she can call them back, maybe she thinks she can actually kill the gods. Maybe she does kill the gods.
Maybe she doesn't want to kill them. Maybe she just wants to be like, listen, I learned my lesson, just get me out of here.
It's like, no, you have not. We've seen the receipts.
Maybe.
Like, we know what's been going. We asked the relic.
So, I think that's the other thing. I get that she needed to learn her lesson. I don't know if that was the best way to do it. And then they just leave her like that. I don't think that's very fair. If you're leaving the world anyway and you don't give a shit, at least take away all your bullshit magic. Like, take away her fucking curse.
I think those things are two different things. Because now it's just like you are being punished for eternity. Well, before it was like you are...
Yeah, and so I agree with you. Eventually, if she had learned, right? But I feel like if they left the world, they should have taken back their punishment, because what the fuck do you care? You're not going to be able to see her get any better or any worse.
But they're also like, hey, fix the world. And
but that's to Ozpin, so Salem doesn't know anything about that nonsense, so that's not fair to her, I don't think.
But
to
then
just
again,
leave her on Earth alone.
Ozpin did meet with Salem later.
We're gonna talk about that.
So it was the idea that Ozpin could, but it was more of the folly of Ozpin and them in a different video.
Yeah.
But
I guess.
Ultimately, I still think that's Ozpin's fault. Really, this is a unilateral failure of communication.
So the Dark God's like top fault. Like, you didn't have to destroy all of humanity just because that small group of people tried to kill you. Okay, at least leave Atlas. They didn't seem like they were there. So, that happened, right? So yeah, the Dark God definitely up there. He has the worst ego. He's a pretty bad god as all things go around. Salem jumps into the cesspool, which again, I don't blame her for. Like, I mean, it's logic, right? If the pool of creation can give her immortality, why not?
She shows herself trying to kill herself like 3 times in that episode.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucked up.
In terms of that, here's the other thing I'm going to talk about. I don't think that initially, and we'll do a separate video on this, but I don't think initially, like, Salem is... It says that she now desires destruction, but she's not pure evil, because, like, again, we see her, like, fall in love and have kids and be happy and all that.
Because she went back to Ozpin, and they held hands like Romeo and Juliet. And so I think that there's a part of her that was human that was attached to Ozpin. But when she loses that attachment to Ozpin, when she kills Ozpin...
She has nothing else to live for, and so she gives into her desire for destruction. Which we'll do another video on. But I say, initially, she wasn't just because people are like, as soon as she was in the cesspool, it's gone. Like, no, something was keeping her human and keeping her there, and that was Ozpin.
Love.
So, and that was love, and that was, like, helping, you know what I mean? Like, we all desire things, but we can easily also suppress our desires.
I occasionally want to be king of the world, but one, I lack the wherewithal, and 2... Yeah, morality.
Yeah, so there's that. Another thing is, is that now we get into the Ozpin stuff. So I feel like if they had both just been honest with each other from the get-go, things wouldn't have gotten this bad. And so I get why Salem didn't do it, because she thought that Ozpin would resent her.
They should show this at couples counseling, like marriage counseling.
Yeah.
Like, this is what happens when you don't communicate with your spouse.
But why did it...
The apocalypse.
I feel like Ozpin didn't... I don't know why Ozpin didn't tell her. And that's Ozpin's whole thing. He's hiding things and he's keeping secrets, and then that destroys his life. So that's like a minus point.
I want this thing here, but I'm worried that this thing over here, the knowledge of like what I have to do in my mission, will get away with this thing that I want, and that's immediately.
Well, I don't think it would have. I think if he could have been like, hey, like,
but
we
that's
should
what
unify
he
the world.
thinks.
I know, but he's stupid.
Yeah.
So minus points for Ozpin. He did some bad shit, and like Salem also has the right idea at first. Like, hey, these humans need someone to unify them and guide them, and we can make the world a paradise. Like that's a non-destructive belief at first, right? And so if they had just talked at the beginning, well, that's later. But if they had just talked at the beginning, maybe they could have.
Because they were both
fathered
so
something better.
They were so
close!
The target was here. Ozpin was here. Salem was like here. And it was so close.
All they had to do was like talk to each other and compromise. That's all I'm saying.
But they did not compromise, and they did not talk to each other, and bad things have happened.
So then they have kids. That's not important. But yeah, then she starts.
I was like, oh my heart. I just want them to be. Listen, right?
Then she starts.
I ship it. I ship it so hard.
Then she starts, like, killing people that disagree, which, I mean, that's obviously wrong, but I feel like that's just any Iron Fist ruler. Like, if you look at anything like Game of Thrones, or, like, any of the shows like that, that's just how people operate. Like, that's just how the rulers operate. Like, Daenerys just disintegrates, like, an entire army and all of that stuff.
But you also don't
because they don't bow to her and, like...
fictitious... Well, I think Daenerys is very,
Daenerys is a good example because she's in a place of sort of a morally gray. Like, yeah, she frees all the slaves, but then she also, like, murders everybody.
But she also doesn't, like, burn... She could also win that war by, like, burning down all of King's Landing. She doesn't do that, because she... So I don't think she's...
But she burned down that army.
Oh, yeah,
last season.
They were also, like, they were the opposing army.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying, so these people are the opposing army, so it does look a little genocidal, but she's not... She's killing people that fight against her, which makes sense.
But that does not go under her rule, and you realize you can't just take away people's...
Yeah. I mean, they're learning.
Right.
So, even though that's bad, at the same time, I feel like... I don't know, that's pretty standard as far as
her wanting to... Her wanting to have a unified world is good. Unify through armed conflict and genocide.
And here's what I'm saying. I feel like if Ozpin just was like, hey, like, there's another way we can do... Like, if they had just tried to talk to each other more, I'm pretty sure that this could have been rectified and people were like, well, there's no compromising with say. I personally don't believe that. I think that if she's so in love with him to, like, fuck him and have children and, like, you know, to live their happy life together, I'm pretty sure that they could have sorted something out. But Ozpin just kept his mouth shut, and then later...
That is so funny. Ozpin fucked Salem. That's kind of that's a little funny.
So that's
it's a little funny. It's like, oh my god, who is that? Remember that part in volume not 4, 5, where like Ruby and them see Salem for the first time and she's twisted and terrible and massive, and like Nora's like, who is that? And like, it is Salem. Like, oh my god, like, yeah, X's, right? Like, it's.
I feel like, too, Ozpin trying to take the children away in the middle of the night, like, no. Like, honey, no, that's not something that you should ever do, honey.
So, ultimately, it's a failure.
So, a lot of this is also... I'm hearing my ears ring.
We're very loud.
I think that part is definitely Ozpin's fault. Yeah. Like, he shouldn't have done that. And then they murdered their children, so, equal blame for that!
Because I saw 4 children and they were magical, so I'm like, 4 maidens? Because I don't know how, like, reliable a lot of those old stories are. Like... So part of me is like, did they survive and have their magic been passed on like Ozpin? So are they dead? Are they not? Either way, it's really fucked up.
Yeah, so there's that. So I think that... Yeah, I think Ozpin when he's brought back to life, Ozpin makes some clear mistakes, and there's still mistakes that he's still making now. Like, obviously, he didn't learn his lesson. Like, don't hide stuff from people. Don't do, you know, try to compromise with the people that follow you.
What I
like
didn't
about
work
Ozpin together
is
with
before
his,
I was
like,
sketchy about Ozpin, like, now I'm just like...
Now I feel bad for him, but I also feel bad for Salem.
I was confused by Salem, because remember when we first actually saw... I mean, you don't... Kind of... Everyone, when she was first seen at the end of Volume 3, she's like, oh, she's going to be the mistress of all evil. But then at the beginning of Volume 4, she's like, hello, everyone. She's a total mom.
Hi,
now you
everybody.
understand where the mom of her comes from. And also, with Ozpin, everyone thought that, like, once we learned that he reincarnated, first people thought he was mysterious. Now people, like, when they saw that he reincarnated, they were like, oh, he's just, like, including myself, like, he's just been through it all. Now, I get the impression that it's not that he's, like, emotionally shallow because he's lived so many lives. He's emotionally shallow because he's always been that way. He's always been really fucked up.
Yeah.
With the situation he's put himself in.
Yeah.
It's beyond that.
So, I guess whose fault is it? Again, mostly the Dark God. Pre-Thanos.
Dark God.
Mostly Dark God pre-Thanos now.
Dark God isn't even but the Dark God isn't even a player. He's just a force.
I think
at this point, he's just a force of negativity.
I think after though, it's both equally Ozpin and Salem's fault.
Yeah, their inability to compromise.
It's their inability to compromise, their inability to sort things out. And like, I get it. Like, she went into the cesspool, and now she has the power. Like, she feels a desire to be destructive. But at the same time, those desires seem to be outweighed by, like, the love of her children and, like, all of that sort of stuff. So
I wonder if there's, like, because...
That's, like, a whole other video,
Because I also like how you learn how remnant comes from when it's just, like, a remnant of whatever... I was like, oh, that's why it's called remnant.
Yeah.
But also, like, I like how maybe there's probably still ruins from the magical civilization existing there. So I like the idea that... I'm a sucker for, like... stories where the ancient civilization was the more advanced one.
That's kind of like this, though.
Yeah, it's
right?
exactly
they all
like
had magic,
this.
But yeah. That's all I had to say. So whose fault is it?
Everybody's.
Everyone's.
Mm-hmm.
But then after the Thanos, it's equally, I think, Ozpin and Salem to some extent. And also, like, here's the other thing that I want to talk about. But if Salem really went into that pool and now she has an inherent desire to do evil, that's not her fault. Like, that's just the gods' sort of magic over her. I don't want to say she's hypnotized. She probably knows that she's doing it.
But she was also pretty fucked up beforehand.
Maybe. But anyway.
This seems just a natural extension of her fucked upness.
I hope that you guys enjoyed. I hope that we discuss more. And I will talk to you guys
a lot of suicide in this one episode
later.
of the children's show.
Bye, guys! Thank you to our wonderful patrons over on Patreon for supporting the channel. Patrons get a bunch of different cool rewards ranging from access to VIP chats or getting video tickets, which can basically be used to request us to do videos, for example. We can advance early access or access to our Discord server. All of those are rewards that our patrons can get, and it's pretty cool. I do recommend it if you guys want to support the channel. We have so much fun talking on our Discord server about whatever it may be, whether that's RWBY or Kingdom Hearts or Miraculous Ladybug, right? And the early access helps you guys obviously get to see our videos before anybody else does, and so that's also pretty cool. The VIP chat is pretty exclusive. I can reply like a bit faster there. It's a bit more one-on-one. So if you guys are interested in any of those, I do suggest that you guys become patrons over on Patreon. The link is in the description, and thank you again for all of our patrons for helping us out. We'll see you guys later. Bye.